All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
Good morning, all. Welcome. It is Monday on a rainy and snowy period during a record-setting winter in California, throughout the state. Welcome into the mix, if you would, please. The wonderful Kim, everybody.
Kim, how are you?
Yes. Kim watching news events around the Bay Area and beyond. Albert, of course.
Albert, thank you.
Is here, and Tony is with us.
Thanks, Tony.
He is going to help coordinate a lot of the visuals today. Of course, when we sometimes when we begin to spin out, we call Tony as well. He's kind of he's our 911 call, sort of.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah. So it's good to have him in the mix, too. Marilyn, good morning. And good morning, everybody in the chat. Yeah, we'll get to the COVID lab leak theory and the Wuhan leak theory a little bit later. Just one of the many stories we'll be covering. I think we're going to get into some weather quickly. Spencer Christian's on deck. And I also wanted to mention that, and I also want to know where are those pictures I was supposed to see this week.
And I also want to know what happened to the pictures I was supposed to see this week.
And I also want to tell you that murder is leading the 10:30 half hour. It's Courtney's Marked Murder Mystery Monday presentation.
What?
That's yes.
Exciting. Yes.
Yeah, it is exciting. We're looking forward to it. Oh, yeah. All right. So I will just mention that it was a soaking in Southern California and in parts of the Bay Area. But I think, and I'll ask Spencer this, I think Southern California got blasted worse than the Bay Area. Oftentimes, you know, when these storm systems come into California, they come from the north and northwest. And the Bay Area and northern parts of the state and central parts of the state can actually get hit harder. By the time the thing gets to Southern California, it's kind of washed out.
Yeah.
I think in this case, you had this subtropical component that met the cold air, and it made for this incredible target that Southern California became on Friday night.
That's real.
Look at you using your weatherman stuff going on.
I'll tell you the truth. I was waiting.
Subtropical something. What are you, Spencer Christian?
I logged many hours looking over the maps, the satellite imagery, the water vapor analyses. I looked over it all for many years, day after day, night after night, keeping the public informed. And I kind of thought, even though I've hung it all up, now I bow to people like Spencer Christian, who's going to be on in a moment. I thought, this is such an extraordinary storm. Maybe they're going to call me back. You know, like Space Cowboys, where
sure.
They called Clint Eastwood and Tommy Lee Jones. Remember the old astronauts, because they're the only ones who work the ship or whatever?
This is the moment. This is your time to shine. This is, you're needed. You're desperately needed. Put the suit back on and climb back in.
Thank you, because that's what I did. I opened the closet, and there it was, my dark suit, my credibility suit. I took it off the hanger, and I saw that it still was in perfect, pristine condition. I got my fresh, pressed white shirt, and I hung it right next to it. I got my tie, the best tie. You know, there are about 5 great ties I have. I have 500 ties, but 5 really strong ones for the big storms. And I got that tie, and I hung it there next. And then I got the pocket square. I was ready, Kim.
Oh, you were?
I waited. I really waited. I thought, these guys, it's an extraordinary circumstance. It's once in a lifetime. They're going to call in the old astronaut. They're going to call in Mark Thompson. This is a Mark Thompson level storm.
Hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson?
Never got the call, Kim.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. You know?
Yep.
Do you know who I am? I'm kind of a big deal.
I was, to be honest, I was emotional about it.
I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry.
It was.
I can see that.
It was tough. But anyway, somebody who's still in the game joins us next.
The Mark Thompson Show.
How about it for the gold standard of weather forecaster, Spencer Christian, everybody?
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's
Mark,
what you want.
that was impressive, Mark. I like your I am
I shouldn't be surprised by your facility with meteorological parlance, but you
very strong, yes.
described that storm perfectly.
Yes, the storm had both the Arctic component and the subtropical component, right?
That's right. And
that
that's why
made
Southern
for-
California gets slammed more heavily than Northern California. Exactly.
Yeah. Now, let's start in the Bay Area, and then maybe you can give us a sense for all of California. But what do we expect? What's going on now? How will that change over the next couple of days? What does the week look like?
Okay, so right now the Bay Area is getting hit with the second in a series of 3 storms. The first one came in yesterday, produced quite a bit of rainfall, mainly in heavy downpours, not with sustained light rain. That ended last night. The second storm is hitting us right now. This is a colder storm with snow levels down to about 2,500 feet, probably dropping even lower. And it's producing rain right now and an occasional wind gust. It's not, like steady, hard blowing wind, but occasional gusts. This one will wind down this evening, sometime after about 8, 9 p.m. And then the third one comes in tomorrow morning, and that's going to be even colder. It's not going to contain quite so much moisture, so precipitation totals will be lower with tomorrow's storm, but the snow levels will be lower, down to about 1,800 to 2,000 feet, which means more snow will accumulate around the Bay Area. We'll be looking at all those videos again tomorrow.
We actually have some pics of the snow. I'm looking for them. Do you have them, Kim?
We do. I have got a bunch of them. Let's go to Christina in Discovery Bay. Yeah, here she's got her friend's dogs.
Wow.
There's another shot.
How cool is that?
Yeah, kind of a Mount Diablo situation.
Yeah, that's a lot of snow in Discovery Bay. Whew.
That is also a shot from Mount Diablo. So that's a nice one.
Yeah.
That's really pretty with the green rolling hills, and then boom, there's the snow up above. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this one taken from Jacksonville. They get snow there, but they said the person saying they got more snow than normal. So this is in Jacksonville, which I think is in the Sierra Foothills.
Oh, okay.
Rich and Nancy from Tenuta Vineyards.
Yeah.
They were on the way to Southern California from Temecula. And these are the pictures that they have shot along the way.
Wow.
And then Lisa and Mary Claire. This is in the Brentwood area as well. Brentwood Sunday Snow Day, they call it. Look at that.
Wow. That's real snow. I mean,
It's now that gives you an idea of
that's not fake. That's real.
This one taken in Campbell. So these are the hills in the South Bay. That's Kathy from Campbell.
Yeah.
And I've got one more for you. This one from the North Bay. And this is from Kimberly, taken from Kentwood, looking toward Mount Hood.
Wow.
Look at the vineyards. Snow over the vineyards.
That really is stunning. It really is stunning. Spencer, you can speak to this a little bit, just even in general terms. Before I get to this question about water. So, as I understand it, we'll have off and on. There will be gusts. There will be periods of heavy rain. That's the way I see it. When does that begin to diminish? When does that kind of wind down?
Oh, good. Yeah, that's good. That's the question we need to address. So the heaviest precipitation, strongest wind gusts from this storm will occur before 1 p.m. So late morning to midday, basically, is it. And then in the late afternoon, early evening, this storm will start to lose a little bit of its energy. It'll still be with us, but there'll be more widely scattered pockets of rain as opposed to, blankets of rain.
And I'm sorry, and on the horizon, you see what behind this?
One more coming in early tomorrow morning. The storm we have today began hitting the Bay Area in the middle of rush hour, basically. It's like between 6 and 9 a.m. Tomorrow's storm may arrive a little bit earlier, just before the morning commute begins. We consider the start of the morning commute to be around 5 a.m. Tomorrow's storm will probably roll in around 4 a.m. Not just hitting the North Bay first and sweeping southward, as our storms often do. It's pretty much going to slam the coast, all of the coast from the Sonoma County coastline down to the San Mateo County coastline, and then sweep eastward before it drops southward.
Speaking of East Road, sorry, I was just going to say that the storm that moved through California Friday on through the weekend, that's now blasting the east. I mean, it's now in the middle part of the country, but it's a serious, potent storm system.
Yeah, well, and you've been doing weather a long time. I mean, you know, it's rather unusual for a storm to maintain its structure and its energy that long a distance. Many of these storms kind of fizzle out over the Rocky Mountains. This one just regrouped and re-energized, and now it's an eastern storm.
Yeah. Kim, go ahead. Sorry.
I have video from Nancy and Felton. I'm not sure if we can talk over it. I think we can.
Yeah, this is looks like a pristine kind of scene. Trees. Wooded. Wow, what a beautiful place you're listening. Yeah, it really is pretty. It's all these gorgeous trees and this light snow falling on it all.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Yeah,
exactly. That's what you know. Spencer, I was going to touch on just in the last minute the water situation. I think we can say that things are getting substantially better in California, wouldn't you say?
We can, right? There's no region of the state right now that is in the severe drought. Moderate drought is considered fine. That's normal, and that's pretty much where we are right now. And it's just getting better with these storms that are, the spacing between these recent storms has been ideal. We got overwhelmed. What was it, a month ago, with that deluge of big storms with no breaks in between? But these storms are giving us the water supply we need, the snowpack we need, but without the flooding and the mudsliding and all the disastrous stuff. There has been some other impact that's on the damaging side. That is, the wind gusts have blown down some trees and knocked out power for a while, but we're not having the devastating flooding and mudslides, and that's good.
This just comes in. Last thing for Spencer Christian. John says, Mark, please ask NOAA to get rid of the grapple term for snow and ice. It's like the BS of the atmospheric river for the Pineapple Express that they've used for decades or longer. Grapple, as it's called, it's a real thing. Right? Yeah. I mean, it's not the BS term quite that you're saying it is, John. Right, Spence?
That's true. It's sort of like it's either like crunchy snow or mushy sleet, mushy hail.
I mean, at some point somebody made the word up or applied the word. That's true, but it has been around for a while. So there's that.
It has. But Mark, the thing that getting back to the atmospheric river thing, that doesn't bother me so much. Now that people have stopped saying Pineapple Express, they're saying atmospheric river. What bothers me is people in the news business, like the anchors and the reporters and the writers, are referring to each individual storm as an atmospheric river.
Yes, I agree.
We got hit with a series of atmospheric rivers. No, we were hit with a series of storms that rode the atmospheric river.
Right, exactly. This is the danger. You know what I mean? It's really, yeah. But what I know, I saw that when they super you now on the show, they mention Hollywood Squares just to wind me up. They know I'm hurt by the fact that I was never on Hollywood Squares.
Did I tell you about my dinner with the Pope? No.
Spencer, go be a big TV star. Thank you for being here. Spencer Christian, everybody. Come on.
Bye.
Love it.
The Mark Thompson Show.
All right. Well, we got a little weather out of the way. It is definitely one of those weeks where winter continues, but it's very cool of Spencer to come spend some time with us. So anyway, that's the latest. I think it's big news. And you heard it here. I mean, why not?
The Mark Thompson Show.
Mark's Murder Mystery Monday next. Thank you for smashing the like button. I haven't mentioned it, but it's kind of important in the algorithms of YouTube.
Smash it with your iron rod.
The more thumbs up you have, the better. So smash it with a thumbs up, and it's one of those things doesn't cost you anything. We will recognize many of you who've helped us today already with some donations, and that's how we're crowdfunded. So that's the way the show stays on the air. So we thank you for that. Kim's News next, and then Mark's Murder Mystery Monday. Mark Thompson Show. Oh, do I have...
There it is.
Yeah. Thank you.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. That's not Steve Moskowitz. No, that's Alex Murdaugh and the jury in that case, the Alex Murdaugh double murder trial, going on a field trip to the crime scene. The judge made his ruling today against prosecution objections for the jury to visit 12 to visit the South Carolina estate where Murdaugh's wife and son were shot to death. Court insiders say it could happen Tuesday, with closing arguments in the case set for Wednesday. Some more storm pictures for you. This, because I just love that people send me the storm pictures. This taken from the Livermore area. Look at the windmills along 580. Yeah, that's from Mr. Moses, who is taking some shots. Look at that. Yeah, so cool. This again, mountains near the Livermore area. And millions in the Northeast and Midwest now bracing for another winter storm. It's all part of the same system that smacked California with snow and blizzard conditions in many areas. Sleet, snow, and freezing rain currently spreading across the Great Lakes. The storm will then move into the Northeast later tonight. So first it hit us, and now it's hitting them. Can you believe that? Look at that. That's Livermore.
That is unreal. I mean, for those who are listening, it is just that could be the Rocky Mountains. It has that look of snow all the way down to the highway, all the way down to the freeway.
That's not fake. That's real.
It's not fake. Exactly.
For people listening on the podcast, it's the area where you hit the windmills from 580 and 205 headed past Livermore. If you are listening on the podcast and you want to go back, I had an email from someone who wanted to go back and see the pictures. Go to youtube.com and search for The Mark Thompson Show and just watch the section, however many minutes we are in. 32. Yeah. You've already heard the show. We're 32 minutes in. Check out the pictures from today and Friday as well. And make sure to click the like button while you're there.
Yeah, smash it while you're there.
All right. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen is in Kyiv as the U.S. ramps up economic support to Ukraine during this ongoing war with Russia. She made the unannounced journey there today, just a week after President Biden's surprise visit to the capital city. Yellen met with top Ukrainian officials and discussed the rollout of about $10 billion in financial assistance for the country. There's a ruling expected any day now by a federal judge in Texas that could block access to the abortion pill across the United States of America. It's a group of anti-abortion doctors claims the FDA improperly approved the abortion pill, mifepristone, back in 2000. Depending on how it goes, the ruling could temporarily stop access to this drug, even in states where abortion is legal. This is a big deal.
This is a huge deal, and this is a ridiculous argument from a medical standpoint. I mean, this is absurd. This is a medicine that's been around for a while. And you heard David Katz chat about it with us. I think we've also talked about it with David K. Johnston. And so we'll get to it later this week. It's one of the big legal cases that's grinding. The other has to do with the internet. But yeah, this is just extraordinary. Thank you for covering that, Kim.
Well, I mean, and you think, in a state like California that your access to any type of medication or any type of abortion would not be restricted. And that's not true, because this one case could have a far-reaching impact. So
that's exactly right. I mean, that you can enjoin, in a sense, the power of even California to sell this medication and make it accessible.
And you would think, because California has passed laws that say, we are an abortion sanctuary state or what have you, that we will take steps to make sure the women of California and even women in other states who we will then pay to be able to come here to have safe access to women's health care will be, assisted that way. That couldn't happen here. And look, this is where we are.
Yeah, exactly right. Well put.
Ohio. People in Michigan now gathering outside a private waste facility to protest the toxic waste from the Ohio train derailment being sent there. This is a photo of the train derailment in Ohio. They're scooping up the waste and sending it to other states to be dealt with. The waste from East Palestine's train wreck came to the city of Romulus, west of Detroit, where without the public's knowledge or input this weekend, it is being dealt with. Same thing happened in Texas. They're pretty upset about it too. This came after the train operator, Norfolk Southern, had temporarily stopped the shipment so the EPA could review the company's plan. I don't know how you feel if you're in a state where the toxic stuff ends up. You want that in your area as well.
Well, the toxic stuff passes through your state without your knowledge and without your approval, and the toxic stuff gets dumped in your state without your approval and without your knowledge. And Texas gets a lot of it because the chemical companies own Texas along with the oil companies. Straight up, they own it. And they can dump where they want to. You know, there's a reason they call it the chemical coast down there on the Gulf. It's an outrage. And this is what I know I rave against this stuff for so long, but I'm telling you, protecting our water, our soil, and our air seems to me to be the top priority. And yet it's the thing that's bumped way down because business buys and sells politicians and owns states like Texas, and they own the Congress. So, I mean, these chemical companies and oil companies, they do what they want, and they toxify the environment.
Let's move on to another court case that is happening. California, well, rather the Supreme Court, set to hear arguments tomorrow on President Biden's plan to forgive an estimated $400 billion in student loan debt. The president's plan has been blocked by several legal challenges, stopping the government from canceling debt for the 26 million borrowers who have applied for relief since this program was rolled out in August. Those challenging the plan argue the move is an abuse of executive authority. So, again, arguments tomorrow at the Supreme Court.
Boy, the Supreme Court's got a pretty, is click-clacking along, huh?
Yeah, full docket over there. California playing an historic role in the military's use of artificial intelligence. 2 different AI programs recently made a dozen test flights at Edwards Air Force Base using an experimental plane similar to an F-16. The Defense Department says it's the first time a bot took control of the jets, which stayed in the air for more than 17 hours. The flights included advanced fighter maneuvers, stimulating combat, also known as dogfighting.
Well, I mean, there is actually no, in the last even 2 decades, you've had wire-to-wire commercial flights run by, you don't call them bots, but it's computer. I mean, you don't have, in other words, the pilots really piloting those aircraft. Once they take off, it's really all done. Many of them. I mean, I'm talking about transatlantic flights, trans-Pacific flights, even inter-Europe, even intercontinental here in the U.S., really run by computer. So that part, in effect, isn't the breaking news. But the notion that you could have fighter jets going through complex maneuvers,
right,
that being driven by computer, by bot in this case, we just changed the wording. That is extraordinary and scary, I suppose.
I mean, I guess it depends on how comfortable you are with, you know, the computer at the controls.
Yeah.
I mean, hey.
I need you to land that plane right now, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Hal, this, you know what I'm saying? That's the movie, The Bombing Run, right? You start bombing your own population and you can't turn the thing off.
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
So I'm just saying, Kim, I'm glad you did this story. It's alarming.
John Smith writes, Top Gun meets the Transformers.
Exactly.
Seriously, I mean, do you think the bots can fly like Tom Cruise's Maverick can fly? I don't think so.
If you want to see a great Tom Cruise, I think it's a great little piece of work with planes. First of all, I guess he really can fly these planes. It's amazing. But he took James Corden up to promote Top Gun Maverick. And you got to find, we might be able to run a little bit of it, right, Tony? We won't get a copyright strike for that, I don't think.
No, we will. Yeah.
Oh, we will?
As long as we make it transformative, maybe.
Yeah.
I was fortunate. Everyone I worked with made me better at my job.
Thank you. I want to thank everybody for keeping me from getting a copyright strike. But
Perry Joe Jim Bob says a computerized Tesla is bad enough.
Yeah, as it turns out. Anyway, go find it and watch it, and you'll enjoy it. It's James Corden and Tom Cruise flying. But yeah, I mean, it's scary up there, and scarier without a pilot, probably. So,
lastly, we have the Governor, he's back. Arnold Schwarzenegger set to star in his first TV series ever for Netflix. The former California governor will be the lead in the upcoming action comedy series called FUBAR.
Screw your freedom.
Yeah.
The series follows a father and daughter who find out their whole relationship is built on a lie, and they are both CIA operatives. The rest of the cast includes Monica Barbaro, Jay Baruchel, Milan Carter. I don't know who any of these people are. FUBAR debuts on Netflix in May. You know what? FUBAR is a military term. It stands for effed up beyond all recognition. So,
all right.
FUBAR with the Governor. This report is sponsored.
Like a complicated pitch. I'll say that. I got it. There's CIA. They both work. They're undercover. Nobody knows what they're doing, but they're in the same family. It seemed very complicated.
Their father, their daughter, but they're not. But maybe they are. I don't know.
It turns out I'm not your father. I'm an undercover agent. Your father actually was taking a hostage. Wow. Okay. Well, when do we start shooting? I love it. Yeah.
It's a lot going on. It's got Arnold's name all over it. This report is sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz for more than 30 years. Steve has put his tax knowledge. Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and businesses. If you are needing help with your taxes, Steve is the one to call. He's at 888 Tax Deal and at MoskowitzLLP.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now, he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson.
I've told you, it's never easy being in this business.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Welcome to Mark's Murder Mystery Monday.
Wow. Very exciting to have everybody here in the mix on a Monday. I want to welcome my darling partner in life. I mean,
this is Mark Thompson.
I mean, at least on my end, she's the partner. I guess she's still working out some questions. Courtney, everybody. Yeah. Wow, kind of cold. Tell me, Courtney. First of all, I want to thank Tony for helping out with a lot of your visuals and your support. He really he volunteered today. Kind of said, "Oh, no, I'm around."
Nice.
Okay.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah. Thanks, Tony.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
We love our Tony. And now, Courtney, I wonder if you could take us through. First of all, can I just ask you what you think of this Murdoch? This Murdoch trial has gone to the jury.
Well, the defense is, I believe the defense is resting today.
Okay, so it hasn't gone to the jury, or
it hasn't gone to the jury. It's day 25. I believe this is the last day for the defense. Alec took the stand rather surprisingly last week. I think the prosecution only had 24 hours to prep on the announcement that he was going to take the stand. And so he testified, I believe, Thursday and Friday, maybe Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And it's just fascinating. I mean, he's blaming a drug habit for lying to the police and stealing money from the firm and his clients.
Well,
it's a wild idea, but it just might work.
I mean, it might work. I know you're not here to talk about this case this week. We did it last week, but I mean, what is the guy supposed to say? I mean, I think he's guilty. I mean, based on what I've heard from you guys, but I mean, you got to say something, and you know what he's not going to say, which is, "You got me." You know what? I mean, so he hangs it on the hook of being a drug addict. Really, is that right?
I mean, it's interesting because in his testimony on Thursday, he said, "My partners didn't know about an addiction," which to me says, yeah, they knew I was taking drugs and I had a problem, right? Yeah. But he's not expressly saying maybe that they knew that he was stealing millions of dollars to pay for, I think it was like 60 pills a day of Oxycontin he was taking. Yeah. Wow. So his defense, I believe, rests today. And then the prosecution will bring up rebuttal witnesses.
All right. So what do you have for us today? What are you featuring in today's murder mystery?
Today, I'm talking about the Boston Strangler. So there is a podcast that launches on March 1st. It's a collaboration between 20th Century Studios, which is now owned by Disney, formerly of Fox, and ABC News, covering the Boston Strangler. And then there is a film that's coming out from 20th Century Studios. It'll be on Hulu March 17th.
Now, the Boston Strangler, that took place in Boston?
Exactly.
And people were strangled.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all I know.
Thank you. Very literal interpretation of the crimes.
Right. It's I'm new to the investigative unit. But yeah.
Although there is a book called The Boston Stranglers.
Oh.
That
it could have been more than one.
They thought that there was more than one, and even some copycats.
Well, take us through it, Courtney.
Yeah.
Please.
So the Boston Strangler was given this name on the murder of 13 women in Boston, Massachusetts, in the area during the early 1960s.
Yeah, you're seeing them there now.
These are the women. Yeah.
Were they of a certain age or a certain profile, or?
Yes. No. Kind of.
What?
That's a very direct answer. The first 6 women who were murdered between 1962. They were all murdered in 1962. The first 6. They were between the ages of 56 and 85.
No,
and so,
really,
yeah, all of them too, Mark, most of them wearing housecoats or murdered by strangling with the sort of the belt or the tether of the housecoat.
Does it happened in their own homes?
Yes. So the murderer would somehow get into the house. Now, he was either talking his way into the house, or he was coming back, picking the locks, and then going into the home. But there was never forced entry that was found in any of the victims' homes. So he would go in. There was some sort of sexual assault. I won't get into any details, but there was some kind of sexual assault. And then they were strangled. And most of them had this sort of this is a weird word to use, but like large garish bows that he would do, sort of this over exaggeration of a bow around the ligature, around the neck. And the ligature was done with the housecoats, as I mentioned, or stockings. And so this was sort of his signature of the various crimes that he was committing.
Yeah. And this was in the 50s, you said?
1960s, 1962. But the person who was ultimately found to be responsible for one of the victims, he was actually committing crimes all through the 50s. He was a lifelong criminal. He had been committing crimes since he was 12 years old. This is the first victim.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the first victim. This is where she lived. She was strangled with a belt from her bathrobe. And then this was the first victim found on June 14th, 1962. And
sad.
He goes and he's killing women every couple of weeks to every couple of months. And then in 1962, in December, he kills his first woman named Sophie Clark, who's 20. And he raped Sophie Clark. So he hadn't raped the first 6 women, but he raped Sophie Clark. Yeah. This
is not Sophie Clark. This is Anna. This is Anna. But anyway, yeah.
I'll just mention also Patricia Bissett. She's the 8th victim. She was actually having an affair with her boss. And her boss went to pick her up in the morning to go to work. She never answered the door. He goes to work. She never shows up. He drives back to her apartment, gets the landlord to let him into the apartment. And as he's opening the door to the apartment, he says to the landlord, "She's dead. She's strangled with a nylon around her neck." But when they went in, she had the covers pulled all the way up to her chin, so you couldn't see the ligature.
Oh, how would he know that?
He may have killed her. The
boss may have killed her.
The boss may have killed her as a copycat. And she was also 1 month pregnant with his child.
Oh,
he was married with kids. Yes.
Yeah.
So there could have been copycats along the way. This is one demonstration of that.
Grim, man.
Yeah.
Really, what do they say? Like women that are pregnant are killed more often as well? I don't know if you've heard that statistic. Yeah.
Yeah, no. And he had looked into not having the child. Is what I'll say. Yeah.
He looked into it. Yeah.
He had looked into other solutions, and then I suppose. But what was interesting is most of the women were posed in a way where you would see them, and it was fairly grotesque.
Well, if most of the women were between 50 and what did you say? Between 50 and
they're between like 50 and 85. Yeah.
I mean, they're not really of childbearing age typically, right? So that would
Sounds
really does feel like a copycat crime, a copycat.
Yeah, it does.
Sounds like a mom complex or something, you know?
Yes. No, it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
He definitely he was married, the ultimate person that they're saying was a Boston Strangler. But he definitely had some he was, sexually frustrated.
You think he had some issues there, Courtney?
Yeah.
On that?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'll mention quickly Beverly Simmons. I believe she was the 10th victim. He tried to strangle her, and because she sang in the choir and she was a singer, her throat, her vocal cords were too strong.
Oh my God.
So he ends up stabbing her to death, and she's the first victim.
This is why I don't watch this stuff or listen to this stuff. It's just so sad.
It's
all right, get me to the investigation, please.
Okay. So, I think I have a photo. If you go down, Tony, the last woman that was killed is Mary Sullivan, and she's important because they match the suspect to fluid that's left on her body in 2013, and ultimately they determined that he did kill her, the man who had confessed to the crimes, and that man is Albert DeSalvo.
Wow.
And so Albert DeSalvo.
Albert, thank you.
No. Not that's not nice.
And Albert DeSalvo, actually, his attorney was F. Lee Bailey, who defended O.J. Simpson, Patricia Hearst.
There's F. Lee Bailey.
Yeah. He confesses to someone in prison, and then that person talks to the attorney, F. Lee Bailey, and so ultimately Albert DeSalvo confesses to F. Lee Bailey. If you go to the next slide, Tony. Based on that, the police published this photo of Albert DeSalvo.
Albert, thank you.
And hundreds of women come forward to say that he sexually assaulted them.
Wow.
300 incidents of sexual assault that attributed to this man, in addition to the fact that he confessed to being the Boston Strangler.
He had a wife and kids?
He had a wife and kids. Yes.
And he's, wow.
Yep. And so he goes to jail.
This picture, this is the police officer, I guess, standing next to the picture of Albert DeSalvo?
Yeah, yes.
Wow.
It's an example. It is the picture that was published. It's a photograph of the picture that was published,
right,
where all the women came forward. He never left any physical evidence. So they actually had no evidence of tying him to the crimes, but he did recall details that weren't public, that only the police knew.
Sorry, how did they find him, or how did they catch him?
They caught him. If you go down, there was a store that they caught him in, and they were following him and caught him there.
At Simon's Shoes?
Yes, he was captured there. And so
they were following him, though, Courtney. Why? Because they suspected him. Why?
Because he had said that he had done these crimes, and so after he was in jail, and then he had gotten out, and then they went and were following him because all these women came forward saying that he had sexually assaulted
When you say he was in jail, he wasn't in jail for murder, though, was he?
No.
Okay, he was in jail, and in jail he said something about, I committed these other murders.
Yeah.
He said that to another inmate?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So
they say that he didn't. You said he didn't leave any physical evidence behind, but I wonder if you think about the advances in criminal technology, like what it would have been like, how quickly he might have been caught if he'd committed those crimes today.
Exactly. No. It's so true. In fact, on victim number 7, he left fluids around the body, which he had not done previously because he had not raped victims 1 through 6. And so you would have figured that at that point, he would have been caught through DNA.
Yeah.
But because they didn't have DNA at the time, they actually, he went to jail for all of the sexual assault crimes that had come forward after his original arrest. And he was given life. He was killed in jail in 1973.
Oh.
But he was never prosecuted for the murders of the 13 victims of the Boston Strangler. And
why is that? He admitted to it. Why wasn't?
Because there was no evidence connecting him to the crime, so he was never.
Without his admission, and without his admission including details from these crimes that no one could know were they not involved, we wouldn't even know that it was Albert DeSalvo.
Yeah, without his coming forward.
Wow.
And actually, he there's a letter in here that I included. He was like sending letters from jail. This is a Christmas card that he sent in 1971.
Merry Christmas! I killed your mom.
I'm really glad he got out his holiday cards. He has these weird drawings where he's writing to kids, and has happy faces, and it's just very, very strange and totally demented man. But in one of the cards that he was sending in 1973, 1972, he talks about how he was going to drop a bomb, and a lot of people thought he was going to take back the confession that he had done, that had been a forced confession. But in July of 2013, they tested DNA from Albert DeSalvo's nephew, and it was in fact linked to one of the bodies, Mary Sullivan, which I showed you earlier.
Wow.
So he was definitely the murderer of Mary Sullivan. They actually exhumed his body and took DNA, and then confirmed again that, he was in fact the murderer.
And exhumed is a ding word. So, wow. So in the end, they got him, but it took a while, huh?
I mean, in the end, yeah, they proved that at a minimum he killed Mary Sullivan. But he knew things even that the witnesses got incorrect. Like one of the witnesses who was sexually assaulted said, and there was a brown chair in the room, and it was actually blue. And he had said blue when he was talking about some of these incidences. So, yeah, it's
so sad. You see these women's faces, and
I mean, he was a really tortured kid. His dad would bring prostitutes home, kick his mom out of the bedroom, and have women there. And his dad taught him how to steal and criminal activity even from a young age. So he really was a very tortured young soul, and obviously went on to do some horrific crimes.
Twisted level, yeah. Wow. Courtney, very well done.
Thanks.
Thank you. It's a kind of a grim process reviewing these.
I want to go camping with Courtney. I want to sit around a campfire with Courtney with a big glass of wine, and I want to just set her free to tell all the creepy, horrible stories to scare the holy bejesus out of me.
Yeah, it is scary.
Morning.
Yeah,
I know Mark is not a good audience for this.
I don't.
He has very little interest.
I have no interest in it at all. The murder stuff. I don't. That's one of the reasons I can't watch. I love Law and Order, the acting and stuff.
Yeah.
But man, that is it SVU with the sexual crimes? Like, it's so gross, man. I did not watch.
I don't think you
it's
should
disturbing.
apologize for how you feel.
I like the original Law and Order with Jerry Orbach, and that's kind of a little more. What do they call that? Procedural, where they go through the legal stuff. I like that, but
in particular, I mean, this is obviously really horrible assaults on women, ultimately murdering the
women. Are sexually assaulted. They're strangled. It's awful.
And it
how dare you come in here with that?
It completely paralyzed the city of Boston. I mean, people were getting dogs, guns, trying to protect themselves, and women were very scared. But the strange thing was, never a forced entry. So somehow he was getting into these homes and apartments through either picking the locks or talking his way into the.
No, somebody actually said in the chat, I was in Boston at the time and it was scary. Somebody in the chat said that. So, Courtney, thank you. Wish we could hang out and talk murder all day.
I know.
Murder Mystery Monday on the Mark Thompson Show.
Yes. Courtney, everybody, how about it? Yeah. Nice job, Courtney. Well done. Man. I don't know, Kim. A little grim, but
it is a little grim,
going out in the world. Yeah.
There's
a reason
also
that this place is fun.
Fascinating, and just like how humans can treat each other.
Yeah, there's that.
Yeah.
Kim's news next. When we come back, hour 2, Law and Disorder. I have word out of San Quentin in Law and Disorder.
Oh.
I have word on Trump in Law and Disorder. I think you're really going to, there's an update on the Trump situation.
There's never been anything like this.
Yeah, and the special counsel. So we'll get to that. And Dilbert has been Dilberted, canceled. And I think it's a pretty clear case. Yeah, there's some of these things where somebody gets canceled. You go, well, maybe they acted too hastily. This one, I think, feels about right. So smash the like button like a boss. Albert, we're going to recognize those
with
who've
your iron rod
thrown into the virtual tip jar today. We'll do that after Kim's News.
After Kim's News.
I love it. All right. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I'm Kim McAllister on the Mark Thompson Show, and this report is sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. Let's get back to the snow. This again, a picture taken from Kenwood looking at Mount Hood. Just seeing snow on the Bay Area mountain peaks, absolutely amazing. People are being told, stay home again today as a new blizzard warning begins. This time, Northern California, the CHP says the roads will be extremely dangerous with wind and snow making driving nearly impossible for parts of the Sierra Nevada. That includes the area between Sacramento and Lake Tahoe. Chains required on Highway 50 and Interstate 80. A dozen school districts in El Dorado County and Amador County have been canceling classes. The warning is in effect through Wednesday morning. So be very prepared if you're headed to the Sierra. They're saying it's not a good idea. Likely lots of traffic and dangerous, treacherous conditions. Republican State Senator Rand Paul says the Biden administration should really declassify information about COVID-19 coming from a Chinese lab. Multiple reports citing classified intelligence say the Department of Energy concluded with low confidence that the pandemic was likely due to a lab leak in Wuhan, China. U.S. government agencies have been divided over whether the health emergency began in China as the result of a lab leak or whether it emerged naturally. We also heard about wet markets in China. So, I mean, who knows, right? Pending home sales are on the rise for the second straight month. The National Association of Realtors says contract signings rose 8.1% in January. The group's chief economist said a drop in mortgage rates made homes more affordable for many buyers. There's some more cost-cutting going on at Twitter. How much more is there to cut? I don't know. I don't think they could cut anymore. They're already bare bones, aren't they? I don't know. Elon Musk's social media company reportedly laying off another 50 employees Saturday. These are key employees that make the infrastructure of Twitter work as well. Since Musk took over in October, nearly 3,800 employees have been let go from Twitter. Speaking of Elon Musk, today, a big announcement from him expected. This regarding Tesla. Several outlets reporting Elon Musk will reveal the next model vehicle for the electric car giant. Musk also expected to provide guidance about any future plans for Tesla as well. And this report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and for businesses. If you need help with your taxes, Steve is at 888 Tax Deal and MoskowitzLLP.com. I'm Kim McAllister on the Mark Thompson Show.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson. The Mark Thompson Show.
Who's Mark Thompson?
Joe Box and Little Anthony.
Mo Black's brother, Fat Andy.
There's a reason that this place is fine.
I'm not gonna cry! I'm not gonna cry!
Y'all can all go to hell, and I'm going back to Texas.
My bad. I'm sorry.
And I wanted to apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community.
We've never seen anything like it before.
Have you ever seen anything like this? There is nothing in our history that quite compares to this.
Nobody has ever put something like this together that I've ever seen. There's never been anything like this.
Why are you yelling?
Good day, sir.
Seriously, what the?
Yeah, what up, everybody? It is the big Mark Thompson Show. I'm Big Mark, and it's a pleasure to have you in the mix. Wow, that's buried. I cannot figure that out, huh? Weird, Albert, huh? That's a...
that music sounded like it was...
buried underwater, huh?
No, a Disneyland ride.
Oh, a Disneyland ride. I was asking Albert whether the music... we're having an audio confab.
Yeah, Disneyland underwater, Mark.
Disneyland underwater. Sorry about that. We work hard to put those little music things together for you, and then because of technical things, it can happen. So anyway, that's that. Hour 2, there is much to do today. We got to figure that out, but you know,
it was like we're on the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, except we're under, like, in the water instead of on the ride.
It's so weird how that comes out that way. But the reaction to the Tesla story, reaction to the Twitter story in the chat. One of the cool things on this platform is that you can join us in the chat, and you can join us with reactions after the show is over. So, like, those of you who watch or even listen in replay, please leave us comments. We read them all and oftentimes get ideas, and, you know, sometimes you'll say, oh, wow, that's a really good point. And so please do that. You can leave comments right there on our Twitter feed at The Mark Thompson Show. Twitter's going to get cut until it's just Elon yelling into a tube and someone's posting what he says. Nobody else, just those two. That's a great call, Eric. It does point out the fact he overpaid for Twitter. Elon Musk, I used to think he was a complicated guy in a way, but I think he's an awful guy. I do. And you see his latest defense of the Dilbert dude. And this Dilbert dude really steps out and makes some, I'd suggest, aggressively racist comments, and Elon Musk defends him.
Defending the indefensible, really.
I don't have to get to that. Even, you know, Kim, I've talked about Neuralink and how horrible Neuralink is, and the experiments they're doing on animals without anesthesia. Even just, you don't even if they used anesthesia, they don't. But it's he's much worse than eccentric. He's horrible. And so, again, I don't know, you know, Tesla, I think, is a breakthrough company and popularized the electric vehicle, although it would get there anyway. I think they did a great job at Tesla. I mean, how much of that was Musk? I don't know. Of his rocket program, how much of that was Musk? I don't know. I know we have subsidized so much of this as taxpayers. So anyway, that's a word about Musk. Twitter layoffs probably result of seeing who delivers, plus people probably automated themselves out of their jobs. Maybe that could be as well. Dilbert appeared in the Mercury News today. So let's get to the Dilbert story. But I wanted, before we get to Dilbert, I thought you wanted me to do shout outs. Didn't you want me to do okay. Albert, take control of this, please, if you would. Is it Hank Van Arkel? $10. What up, Hank?
That's nice.
Big shout out.
Big shout out.
Yeah. That's
and
really
welcome.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you for that super sticker for $10. You can leave us super sticker, super chats on YouTube. It's a great way to support the show, sort of in real time. Gail Guthrie, 1999. There is a super sticker. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, Gail. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Nice. Really do appreciate it. We're crowdfunded, so we have to ask you to throw a little something into the virtual tip jar, and very much appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kevin Hobbs. He is a Hall of Famer.
Double fours, double sevens.
Yeah, baby. I'm not going to cry.
I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry.
But if I cried, I'd cry in the living room of Kevin Hobbs.
I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kevin. You're a great supporter. We so appreciate it. And I'll give you all who have contributed today or go to Patreon and PayPal and contribute there. That's a great way to support the show on an ongoing basis. I will give you all a
thank you.
TheMarkThompsonShow.com. You click contribute, and will take you to Patreon and PayPal. There you see it, right? So TheMarkThompsonShow.com. You have to put the in there, otherwise you go to a ventriloquist website who's named Mark Thompson. Yeah. TheMarkThompsonShow.com. And apparently he also does a show. The Mark Thompson Show. And there you'll see Patreon and PayPal, and that way you can help us on an ongoing basis. Again, we exist through crowdfunding. So if the crowd goes away and the funding goes away, we go away. We're closing in on 10,000 subscribers. So this show right now, and it's a new show, is doing okay in terms of growth. So appreciate that, and appreciate you contributing to the mix as well. And I had one other. Oh, yeah, exactly. Thank you. Is it S. Neil? Yeah. Yeah. Almost 10,000 subscribers. Yeah, we're very excited about that. So
I have a response to a comment. Can I make?
Yeah.
In regards to Dilbert being taken out of newspapers, Chris Holgren writes, freedom of speech is dead as an American institution. And I would say to you, Chris, that freedom of speech is alive and well, but freedom of speech does not mean freedom from consequence. You can say what you want, but that doesn't mean that your boss isn't also free to fire your ass, or that, you know, you're free from public persecution over the crazy crap that comes out of your mouth. So say it, you're free to say it, but that doesn't mean you're free from consequences.
Kim's right, of course.
The end of my rant.
He can do it, but then he's got to just live with the consequence. Exactly. Right. I mean, there's a lot of hateful stuff that probably is rocking around in a lot of different heads of hosts who, you know, are high profile. Here he's a wealthy guy. He's got a lot of momentum. He is the creator of Dilbert. Dilbert is huge with books and merch and all of that stuff. So I think what happens is you get a little full of yourself, probably. I mean, we've seen it happen in many, many instances. It happens with athletes, celebrities, etc., with CEOs. And before you know it, you're saying stuff that's rocking around in your head, and it's hateful, and it's awful. And it can be informed by any number of things. So he has the freedom to say it. He did. Look, he did. Mm-hmm. But the consequences of that are real. And the other thing I would say is
that's not fake. That's real.
Dilbert, us, and maybe any number of other endeavors are dependent on a public trust and also a commercial aspect to the success. And so Dilbert, when you turn that comic strip into controversy, and then you take it from controversy into what is interpreted widely by the consumer as racism, it becomes no longer advertiser friendly. And when it's no longer advertiser friendly, it gets dropped. Those are the consequences of that sort of speech. So again, free to say it, but if you become radioactive from the standpoint of advertisers, we are going to drop you. Same thing happens here. We get these messages like, was there this said in your show? Was it sexual content, explicit violence, all this kind of thing? And they ask those questions, and they even state, because that makes your show less advertiser friendly. So ad-supported work like Dilbert is going to be subjected to the sort of consequence that we've seen actually come to pass. Now, I don't think we can run what he said, Albert, because he uses the F word, doesn't he?
We can still run it. We're still going to be monetized. It's not at the beginning of the video, so we can run it.
Okay. Here's what he said.
We can just run some of it. We'll meet in the middle. We'll run some of it, and we'll just duck
and
out.
Then I want to move on. Yeah.
So if nearly half of all blacks are not okay with white people, according to this poll, not according to me, according to this poll, that's a hate group. That's a hate group. And I don't want to have anything to do with them. And I would say, based on the current way things are going, the best advice I would give to white people is to get the hell away from black people. Just get the fuck away. Wherever you have to go, just get away.
All right.
Because there's no fixing this. This can't be fixed.
That's again Scott Adams, the creator of Dilbert, and again, I just don't see. You have to live by the consequences of that kind of statement. It's pretty reprehensible. You don't. I mean, can't we all agree on that?
I mean, it's very divisive. You know, saying stay away from them.
People are a hate group.
Yeah.
All right, Albert. Because of the I don't know, because of that music getting buried, I'm thinking you should run the Law and Disorder open and close. Are you okay with that, sir? Albert?
He's busy. I'm sorry.
I could do it. I could do it.
Okay.
Albert's on a smoke break.
Albert's producing 4 other shows right now. Before we get to that, no. Before we, I'm sorry, I did the head fake. I saw Steve show up, and I want to get to him. So before Law and Disorder is still to come. As I say, we've got a big story out of San Quentin, and the special counsel's Trump probe is heating up. I'll get to those stories next.
The Mark Thompson Show.
But first, how about it for Steve Moskowitz? We've mentioned him several times today, but I very much wanted to talk to Steve. Steve is, as you know, our friend in the Bay Area for over 30 years, someone who you can bring any number of issues related to tax, related to business, related to HR. This essentially the Moskowitz services have grown well beyond just basic tax preparation. Steve, I wonder if you can speak to that and some of the you found these literal treasures for so many of us who have small businesses.
Yes, we have, and there's so much we can do for people, including, here it is, the end of February 27th. And a very big problem that comes up is people that just can't pay their taxes, especially now. There's a lot of people and businesses just still reeling from COVID and the tremendous drain that was. Not to mention people took money out of pension accounts to survive, and the government wants tax on that. So what happens if you just can't pay your taxes? Don't panic, but don't stick your head in the sand either. Just call us. You know, Mark, in almost all cases, we can do everything for the client. They don't have to talk to the government, deal with them, have anything to do with them. We do the whole job. And there's a lot of good deals. Like if you qualify to just pay part and they forgive the rest, or a penalty forgiveness. You know, sometimes the penalties and interest are a tremendous amount of money. Or sometimes somebody lost a job, or the business went bad, or somebody in the family got sick. We just need some time. Leave me alone until I'm back on my feet, and then we'll make a deal. And a lot of other things too, maybe a monthly payment plan. So the bottom line is, and the IRS is in the process of hiring all these additional, you know, the 87,000 agents that's made so much splash in the news. And, you know, the government's spending a lot of money now with economic programs, the war in Ukraine. Where does that money come from? Well, China's cutting off our credit card. So it comes from us, the U.S. taxpayers. That's why all these agents are being hired to go ahead and get the money from us. We're what stands between you and the government. We want to cut you a good deal. And then you can have a normal life, even though you can't pay your taxes.
That's such a great point, that the hiring of all those agents, I wish that enforcement was on the real big earners in the culture and in the society, but that's just not the case. And there's now real evidence that you look at the focus of so much of the IRS work, it's going to be on waiters, waitresses, small business people. I mean, you see this now, there's real reporting on this. You'd hope for some kind of enforcement of tax code on the jillionaires in this culture, but you won't have it.
You know, and the individuals in the small business really feel it. You know, Fortune 500 company, they've got so many layers of guys like me that are there, you know, arguing, defending, and they have one step better, Mark. And they have people in Congress saying, well, here, you should make this law to benefit this or that. But the bottom line is the small business person, the individual, they do need somebody like us to say, you know what, we'll take care of it for you. You run your business, we'll take care of your taxes, and you'll be much better off that way rather than, you know, people make mistakes too. Like some people don't file returns because they know money is due. That's a big mistake. And if you've made that mistake, we'll go ahead and help you with that too. We'll do everything for you that you need. And remember, before I was a tax attorney, I was a CPA. I have CPAs, I have attorneys, all kinds of people in the firm to help you.
Yeah, anywhere in America, by the way, not just in the Bay Area, not just in California. Obviously, Steve's been in the Bay Area and helping people for over 30 years, as I was mentioning. But I mean, if you have a business anywhere in the country, call Steve, 888-TAX-DEAL, 888-TAX-DEAL.
I have a tax question. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes.
You're repeating the number. 888-TAX-DEAL.
MoskowitzLLP.com. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I have a friend who is working for a company and recently got a big fat bonus. And
Nice.
when the bonus came, the person realized that a lot had been taken out for taxes. Why are bonuses taxed differently? And is there anything you can do to retain more of that money?
Okay, so what happens is when you know you're going to get a bonus, what you're looking for is offsets. So that's why it's so important to talk with whoever does your taxes, because when you say, okay, a bonus for a lot of people, especially a large one, could be an unusual event. What else can I do in my whole tax year to offset that? And sometimes it's called loss harvesting, where you say, for example, I could do something else to offset that. Or if they're in business, maybe they would be able to set up a pension if we're something separate, or lots of other things. So you look at the individual situation and say, okay, what can I do to offset this? That's what companies do.
Mm-hmm.
The offset. It's the offset. That's your key, Kim. So run
Always
back to your
the offset.
Sounds like a movie starring Steve Moskowitz.
Yeah.
I like it.
Steve
That's
Moskowitz,
what we need, an action-adventure starring a tax attorney.
The Offset
The
in
Offset.
theaters.
Steve
May
Moskowitz.
25th.
Offset. MoskowitzLLP.com is another place you can find him. Get in touch with him through that website. Kick around on there. Moskowitz, Moskowitz, MoskowitzLLP.com. Steve, thank you. Yeah,
Thanks,
we'll
guys.
talk tomorrow.
The Mark Thompson Show.
It was great. I loved it.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
Morning.
You cannot say you love your country.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Stay at home and get baked.
Albert, let's do it. Let's do some law and disorder.
The people, pimps, addicts, thieves, bums, winos, girls who can't keep an address, and men who don't care,
are represented by two separate yet equally important groups.
A cop, a flatfoot, a bull, a dick, John Law. You're the fuzz, the heat, you're poison, you're trouble, you're bad news.
These are their stories.
Well, we go to San Quentin. Former San Quentin guard sentenced to prison.
The big house.
For smuggling cell phones. Yeah. I mean, this is the key. You always hear about the fact that they're running drugs in prison, that they get anything they want in prison. A former San Quentin corrections officer sentenced to 20 months in prison. At least he'll know the way. For smuggling contraband into death row. I mean, that is...
I thought they had cell phone jammers in prison.
Yeah.
Where, even if you had one, you couldn't use it because the prison jammed the signals. No?
No, I'd never heard that, although that's interesting.
My words upset so many people.
I don't know.
And who's the guy on death row going to call anyway? Nobody wants to talk to you anymore.
I don't know about that. I'll tell you, I think that when you're running contraband and when you're running a major crime organization, you can be doing it from prison, as we've seen, and doing it from death row.
Or do they just want to taunt their victims?
No, I think they're past that. I think that, this is my theory anyway, but
get Courtney back in here. We're going to talk about. No,
I
I'm
really
kidding.
don't think they're about their victims anymore on death row for the most part. Those who are worried about
that's
smuggling.
true. That's true.
They're not sitting around gabbing like teenagers. They're really working, I suspect, some criminal enterprise from San Quentin or from whatever. Keith Christopher is the guy's name, 38 years old. He's from Pittsburgh, California. Excuse me.
All right. Pittsburgh, California, of course, place a lot of fine people are from.
Yes, please don't go by this
in the East Bay,
judging all the residents of Pittsburgh.
Right.
He pleaded guilty to the crimes and admitted to accepting payments in exchange for smuggling at least 25 cell phones into San Quentin. So he had quite the little business working. He did this
There's
in 2019.
never been anything like this.
Cell phones are not allowed for inmates. Really? Yeah. Don't need to tell us that, but glad it's here nonetheless. They're considered contraband, and he will get 3 years of supervised release once he gets out of prison.
How long is he going to prison for?
20 months. So what is it, a little less than 2 years? Christopher admitted in his plea agreement that on 2 occasions, he delivered cell phones and accessories, such as chargers. He had his own little Apple store working right there in San Quentin. Let me get you the latest charger on this. You don't want, that's 3.0. You want 4.0. And again, he smuggled this to an inmate on death row. The inmate on death row, and this is the key, Kim, sold the phones to other inmates.
Oh, it was a ring, a crime ring from within the walls of the big house.
It's a crime network. Yeah. So
it was great. I loved it.
The first transaction involved co-conspirators Tanisa Smith Symes, Dustin Albini, and Isaiah Wells.
Mm-hmm.
It occurred in December of 2019. The inmate arranged for 10 cell phones to be shipped to the Nevada residence of Symes, who then sent the phones to Albini to deliver to Christopher. So this was a multi-conspiracy-filled effort to deliver these phones. After Christopher got the phones, he smuggled them into the prison and to the inmate. He got $5,000 sent to him through Venmo and Walmart money transfers. Those transfers came from Albini and Wells. So that's the conspiracy. A second agreement was made with the same inmate in May of 2020 to smuggle 15 cell phones into the prison. The phones were sent to Smith Symes again, sent them to Wells in Tracy, who then delivered them to Christopher. Christopher delivered the phones to the inmate. That one was for $6,500.
So let me just get this straight. You sell your soul at the outset for $5,000 and some Walmart coupons.
Yep.
Or whatnot, and then you decide to go back at it for $6,500.
So brutal, huh?
I mean,
I agree. It's like selling out for,
nothing.
Not a lot. Yeah.
Enjoy your 20 months behind bars, dummy.
I also would say that if you feel as though you're untouchable, though, sometimes pick up $5,000 on the side. No one's going to know. There's a lot of contraband in prison, I guess, and there are all kinds of schemes to keep it going. Drugs proliferate the prisons, right? I mean, they're everywhere. So there has to be cooperation with prison personnel on some level. Otherwise, that stuff doesn't get in. Isn't that right? Proliferation is a ding word. You're right. The special counsel's investigation of President Donald Trump appears to have reached the advanced stages. A flurry of aggressive steps in recent weeks, some of which have set the stage for court fights that could take months to resolve, it says. In recent days, special counsel Jack Smith's office has asked a federal judge to override Mr. Trump's assertion of executive privilege to shield former Vice President Pence from testifying before a grand jury about the former president's efforts to stay in office in his 2020 election loss. Mr. Pence has vowed to mount his own challenge to the subpoena and take it as far as the Supreme Court.
He really doesn't want to testify.
He does not, this is in a typical case, says a former prosecutor. In a typical case, these top-level inner circle people are some of the last people you'd expect to be subpoenaed.
Yeah.
You don't talk to them at the beginning of the investigation because you don't know enough yet. You're just looking at stuff. When I see subpoenas to the highest level of inner circle people, that makes me think they're close to wrapping up. And that's why this Jack Smith investigation appears to be hitting a kind of tipping point.
There's never been anything like this.
So a spokesman for the Jack Smith Special Counsel office declined to comment. But this is out of the Wall Street Journal. And these subpoenas are coming at a frenzied pace and at the highest levels. So even as they're being fought, they're being served. The other person who was, there are several different things with the Trump situation, right? You have his attempt to remain in power despite the election, right? Essentially organize a coup. But you also have this weird thing, which we've kind of lost in the lights of everything else, and that's that document thing where he took all these documents and basically stored a ton of them at Mar-a-Lago. Then you find them all over the place. And because there were others revealed in other people's residences, like Biden, like Pence, you begin to lose it. But that's a real continuing effort on the part of the special counsel's office to prove either obstruction charges or to build a case in that area, because you'll remember the Trump situations are way different than the situation with Biden and Pence, for example. So the lawyer that said, hey, nothing to see here, guys, we've turned over all the documents down there at Mar-a-Lago, she is getting subpoenaed now. And so she will be deposed.
My bad. I'm sorry.
And there's a lot of my bad. I'm sorry. That's Law and Disorder for today.
Tune in again next time for more Law and Disorder on the Mark Thompson Show.
All right, that's it. Let's roll. Hey, let's be careful out there.
Yeah, so you've got Scott Adams, who's stirring the pot. Then you've got San Quentin misbehavior. And you've got the Jack Smith investigation. That continues. And it looks like it's reaching a critical point. So all of that going on in Law and Disorder. Smash the like button like a boss. Smash it with your iron rod.
Smashed it with your iron rod.
And when we come back, I have some stories from the sky for you. Oh, yes. I've got a juicy Stories from the Sky segment as we continue. Kim's News, and we'll do that next. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report is sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. Mark mentioned it. Let's dig into this a little bit more. America's top diplomat in China now calling on Beijing to be more truthful about the origins of COVID-19. Speaking at U.S. Chamber of Commerce event, Ambassador Nicholas Burns said China will have to be more honest about what happened in Wuhan if the two countries are going to be able to work together. His comments come after reports that the Department of Energy concluded that the virus likely leaked from a lab in Wuhan, China. Speaking of COVID, 3 years after it began, California is now winding down its emergency response to COVID-19. With the ending of the state emergency over tomorrow, policies and protocols will be changing. That means local officials won't be able to quickly enact mask wearing or restrictions on gatherings anymore without a more thorough approval process. Mass vaccination and testing sites will also close, and insurance companies will no longer be required to cover the cost of COVID-19 vaccines. COVID's still infecting nearly 3,000 people and killing an average of 20 every day in California. Some doctors are urging the public to stay up to date on vaccines and maintain precautions. There is one Democratic congressman now pushing for airlines to eliminate all the surprise fees for travelers. Here he is. That is New Jersey's Josh Gottheimer. He is urging the Department of Transportation to finalize rules that require airlines to show the full price of a plane ticket up front. No surprises. This comes as President Biden used his State of the Union speech to take aim at junk fees across all industries. It's an interesting story, and one you wouldn't necessarily think, but identity theft scams cost African Americans more money than any other ethnic group. This according to Identity Theft Resource Center and Black Researchers Collective. 22% of African Americans said they were scammed out of anywhere from $500 to up to $1,000. That compares to a rate of about 5% of the general population reporting identity theft scams. Major League Baseball fans seeing some sweeping rule change as spring training season is about to begin. They include bigger bases and a pitch clock intended to speed up the game to help slumping TV ratings. Some baseball purists are crying foul after a game between the Atlanta Braves and Boston Red Sox resulted in a game-ending violation. I wonder why bigger bases?
Why is that, Albert? Why bigger bases?
Too many people saving for the base runners.
What's that?
Take
Say it
it.
again.
It's safer for the base runners when they're running on the bases.
Huh. Okay.
Well, that's cool. I'm for that. Yeah.
Well, safety is great. Get those bigger
Probably
bases
looks better
in there.
on TV because it looks bigger.
Yeah, it might be. I was going to say, it feels like, yeah, it might be that.
You have more opportunity to be safe too, right? Well, to be.
Oh, that's right, Albert. What about that? More opportunity to be safe.
Or more opportunity to be out.
Okay.
There's never been anything like this.
There really hasn't been anything like this, as it turns out.
I think that
There is nothing in our history that quite compares to this.
It's true. Not in baseball's history. I'm glad you had that story, Kim.
I think they're trying to kill the people of Kentucky, and here's why. McDonald's is expanding sales of Krispy Kreme donuts in March. So you go to McDonald's, get your Big Mac, your French fries, and you pick up some Krispy Kreme while you're there. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the state of Kentucky, watch out. For a limited time, the fast food giants 150 locations in Kentucky will sell Krispy Kreme's glazed, chocolate cream filled, and chocolate iced with sprinkles donuts all day long. McDonald's first tested the sweet treats in October, but this larger run will look at customer demand and how a bigger launch will affect restaurant operations. So
This is a word from the Lord, and he's not happy.
Yeah. There's a decadent society getting more decadent, Lord.
I mean, why not put all the heart attack causing stuff in one center? So, it's easy for you to get it all at one time.
Right.
This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and for businesses. If you need help with your taxes, it's all about Steve Moskowitz at 888-TAX-STEAL and MoskowitzLLP.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
What up, everybody? We're so glad you could join us on this Monday. It's been a brutal winter so far in California. I had water. I didn't mention this yet. I'll just share this personal story. This is a personal storm story.
Do you have pictures? I feel like you need pictures.
I actually, I almost sent pictures. I don't think I did send pictures to Albert. I meant to. I didn't. In the heavy rains, first of all, the grading was done incorrectly. I'm meeting with drainage specialists, and they didn't grade a portion of the area around the house so that the water runs off. They graded it so it runs in.
No.
So I have a water buildup, and it's seeping into the wall, and there's a whole problem with that. So I have to jackhammer all that stuff out, regrade that, and then everybody's got a problem that's, anyway. Mess, but I wouldn't mention it were it just that. The thing that I wanted to mention was that the water, and we still can't figure out how it's happening, is flowing into the electric box, okay? Into the solar box. We have solar, okay? And I have video of this. Maybe I'll show it tomorrow. And I've tried to reach the electric company, and I can't reach them. I'm going to try them again when we get done. But it's utter insanity. I mean, you have a continuous flow of water. I mean, it was like a stream of water. I'll show you the video tomorrow. And it's coming out of the solar box. So it's going in and out. It's alarming.
Yeah, but you still have power to your house?
Yeah, still have power to the house right now.
Oh.
I don't know. It's scary. I don't know what to do, but I feel like there's probably a drop that is appropriate here, but I'm too busy looking for, I'm looking for the open. You're telling me I need to run it, Albert?
Yeah, I don't have that one. Yep.
All right. Let me see if I can find it. Can you, do you have a storm story, Kim? Or can you catch us up with storm-related things?
Absolutely, I can.
Or pick something, or even comments. I was thinking also.
Well, I will say that today is bringing rain, winds, more snow to the Bay Area. They're calling this one, though, Spencer and Crowd at ABC7, a level 1 system. So that's kind of low on the totem pole, right? Heavy rain, gusty winds, a wintry mix this morning, they say. And it started in the North Bay, where a lot of storms hit the North Bay first and then push south and east. So right about now, they're getting it in the South Bay and the East Bay. The 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts today causing the problems. And then we're going to get scattered showers throughout the day. And of course, in Tahoe and the roads between Sacramento and Tahoe, Highway 50 and Interstate 80, the CHP asking people, do not drive. It is it's going to be treacherous on the roads, and those warnings are up until at least Wednesday.
Wow.
Yeah.
It is brutal in the mountains, but this is just glorious skiing and snowboarding. So there's all of that.
As a matter of fact, I have video. I have to figure out how to show it to you. I have video of a teenage boy that I know here in Petaluma who went up to Sonoma Mountain, which is the mountain in between Petaluma and Sonoma, on Saturday. I think he went up there, maybe Friday, and took his snowboard because he had a trip scheduled to Tahoe. Because of the weather, was not able to get up there. So he and his buddies go up to Sonoma Mountain with their snowboards, and they're actually were snowboarding on Sonoma Mountain. Great video.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is amazing. I mean, it's pretty ridiculous what kind of winter we're having. And this, by the way, and now I'll move on to Stars in the Sky, is not changing this, 20-year drought, but it is changing the short-term problems. So this is a conversation for another day. In fact, I've got a couple of good guests in the weeks to come about just this thing. But it really does take a lot of pressure, short-term pressure, off of our water situation. So, Albert, I found it. It might sound like it's buried underwater, but let's give it a try. This is Stories from the Sky.
We have clearance, Clarence. Roger, Roger. What's our vector, Victor?
Enough is enough! I have had it with these monkey-fighting snakes on this Monday to Friday plane! Everybody strap in!
Did it sound clean, Albert, or not?
It tailed off towards the end, but it was pretty good in the beginning.
Okay. A COVID cap has forced United Airlines to delay extra China-U.S. services for 6 months. Government talks to lift 12 flights a week, which was the cap, deadlocked. United delays adding flights for at least 6 months now because of this. China's in a back and forth, and because of COVID, there was a cap, there was a limit put on the United Airlines flights, and the extra flights that were to fly to China, not going to happen. The talks continue. Meantime, charges dismissed against a woman who forced American Airlines into an emergency landing. The information is as follows. She caused a flight from Jacksonville, Florida to Washington, D.C. to land earlier. Tiffany Miles is her name. She'd initially faced a misdemeanor charge of airport obstruction. It's interesting that you can force a plane to land early and it's still only a misdemeanor.
Airport obstruction. Never heard of it.
After continued investigation regarding the circumstances surrounding the incident, this is a quote, and review of eyewitness statements, plus in-depth consultation and the Wake County District Attorney, law enforcement have dismissed the charge. This is from the airport. The dismissal of Miles' charge does not preclude further action by the appropriate federal agencies. The FBI Charlotte Field Office saying no further charges are expected unless additional evidence comes to light. She says she's relieved. I guess I have to speak with my legal team, she says, to see how we're going to handle this. Well, I mean...
How would you handle this?
Yeah.
We could try ignoring it, sir.
Yeah.
I see. Pretend nothing has happened and hope everything turns out all right in the morning.
That might be the way to go for her. But she says, I'm just concerned with exactly what happened. She says the flight attendant should get reprimanded and should undergo training. Before and during the flight, Miles said she tried to order alcohol, despite a flight attendant telling her drink services were not offered on the flight. She said she flies often and she has anxiety. And as she continued, there was a heated conversation with the flight attendant.
I'd be willing to bet my lunch that there's alcohol involved.
She got up and was walking toward the bathroom, which is in the direction of the cockpit, you see. Near the cockpit, she says, Miles, the woman accused, says that 2 flight attendants stopped her and a passenger stepped in to calm her down. She said she's allowed to go back to her seat. Then she says that she asked the flight attendant to call the cops because the attendants were being rude to her.
This is someone who shouldn't fly.
She says she flies a lot. The flight crew used zip ties and sat her in the back of the plane until the aircraft landed safely in the Carolinas.
What?
Yes. Law enforcement there got TSA notification of an attempted hijacking on board the flight, so they came in hot.
Wow.
Due to the elevated nature of the call, they say, and information received at the time, law enforcement placed the passenger, Tiffany Miles, in custody and initially charged her with a misdemeanor.
My bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But now, as you've heard, the misdemeanor has pretty much been dropped. TSA breaking yet another record nationally for firearm discoveries, everyone.
Yes.
In the United States of guns, it's what we do best. We bring our guns everywhere. You never know when you're going to need one. I mean, everybody else has got one. Why shouldn't you be able to carry one on board? The TSA in San Francisco announcing that its security screening officers at 3 major airports in the Bay Area detected 35 firearms in travelers' carry-on luggage. This is in the past year. Every one of these firearms was discovered during the routine X-ray screening of carry-on property at the screening checkpoints. Nationwide last year, TSA officers, oh, this is good. Nationwide last year, how many firearms did TSA officers find in carry-on luggage? It's in the thousands.
Oh.
How many?
Across America?
Across America, how many firearms were found in carry-on luggage from Americans and those who are just passing through the country, whatever? They put it in their carry-on bag, so they're carrying it on the flight. Karen Cooper says 6,500. Russ says 4,500. John Smith says 7,000. Eric says 43,000. An entire year. D says 10,000.
I'm going to go with D.
SF Tesla says 7,200. Lulu is 13,000. Jan says 10,000. Jason says 18,000. I think I would have guessed around there, 18, maybe 20,000 in the course of a year. Way too many, says Mindy. The actual retail price. How many firearms were discovered in carry-on luggage? It was guessed correctly, believe it or not, by Karen Cooper, everybody. That's right.
Okay.
6,542 firearms at 262 different airports.
Wow.
And I was going to ask you, this is interesting, I think. Hang on, Albert. Let me see if I can get something else that I could ask you, which might be interesting. I don't know. I was looking to see the 5 U.S. airports with the most TSA firearms. I think that's pretty good.
Has
the
to be in
TSA
Texas, right?
Airports with the the TSA air firearm discoveries that were most numerous occurred at what airport?
Dallas Fort Worth.
No.
No.
I think Louisiana.
Well, Louisiana, strong choice too. I'm waiting for people to catch up with a couple of guesses, and then I will. Florida, Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth. A lot of people. Dallas for sure. Dallas for sure. Texan. I get the second grade lecture. That's a great line. Yeah, Ben's right. All these people with guns, and I get the second grade lecture for putting my phone in the same tray as my laptop. That's exactly right. So they really treat you like you're just, yeah. Well, the actual retail price, indeed. The 5 U.S. airports with the most TSA firearms discovered by TSA. Hartsfield Jackson Atlanta International Airport, everyone.
Okay.
Dallas Fort Worth was a good guess. They were second. Then Houston's George Bush Intercontinental Airport. So Texas does really take it. Then, after you get past Atlanta, Dallas, and Houston, you go to Nashville, everybody. Come on now.
Okay.
I'm telling you.
Y'all can all go to hell, and I'm going back to Texas.
That's right. I'm taking my gun through Nashville, going back to Texas. And then finally, Phoenix Sky Harbor International. To round out the list, Orlando, there's something for Florida, and Denver, and Fort Lauderdale. And that rounds out the top 10 more or less. Actually, Austin is in there too. So Texas, once again, Texas well represented in the guns being brought up.
Y'all can all go to hell, and I'm going back to Texas.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So that is what the TSA is discovering.
I didn't hear a lot of California in there.
California not making the list of firearm discoveries by TSA, even though it's SFO. They did discover them, but we don't make the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
Flights from Tokyo to San Francisco International Airport will be now begun by Zip Air. That's a Japanese low-cost airline carrier.
I don't have confidence.
You do?
Do you have confidence in climbing aboard Zip Air? I don't have confidence.
I don't think just because they're discounted they're going to be bad, but I understand. You just don't like the name? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's doesn't fill me with a
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Straight up right in, no problem.
The level of safety that I'm going to arrive at my destination. I don't know.
Maybe. Zip Air has revealed it will launch flights between Tokyo and San Francisco. The Japanese low-cost carrier has yet to announce a firm start date, but the Trans-Pacific flights will connect Zip Air's hub in Tokyo with San Francisco International Airport. There'll be Boeing 787-8 aircrafts. There is already a lot of competition for that SFO Tokyo route. There's a Nippon Airways, United Airlines. There is a lot of travel, as you know, between San Francisco and Asia. And so Zip Air is getting into a pretty crowded field, but that means that there's a lot of demand, so that maybe they'll do well.
Yeah.
They already fly to L.A., Zip Air does, and to San Jose, but they don't fly to SFO yet, and now they will. So from Tokyo to SFO, coming soon. And that, my friends, is a little look at what's going on in the air. And we call it Stories from the Sky.
This has been Stories from the Sky. The captain has turned off the seatbelt sign, and you are now free to move about the cabin.
Yeah, I don't know.
I have
Was that buried also?
No, that was good.
Yeah, that's weird. I just can't understand. Okay, go ahead, Kim. You have what?
I was going to say that I have video I can share of the snowboarding going on in Petaluma if you're interested.
Absolutely. Well, let's do that. This is our big close.
Okay, let's see if I
love
share
that.
it.
Doing a little happy snow. See, I'm telling you about how my electric box is flooded. Now I've got a serious problem here. But you're going to give me some good news. And this is the other side of it. Incredible snow conditions.
This is Dylan, who is rocking the snowboard on Sonoma Mountain.
Literally
Yes,
rocking.
there.
There's some rocks under there.
Look at that. Jumping it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool shirt he got on there.
It doesn't snow here. That's why this is so cool.
It's
He
very
goes,
cool.
he's can't go to Tahoe, so he goes up to Sonoma Mountain and he's snowboarding anyway. Anyway,
I
just
love
wanted,
it. There's a
I wanted to
reason
share that with you guys.
Fun. I think that the only thing would have been better is if he had some Mark merch on, you know.
It's true. A little Mark merch beanie, snow beanie.
Albert, did I send you that? Who sent us something with Mark merch? Somebody had it, right?
Yeah, here, let me pull it up.
All right, hang on a second. And then Jan, I want to acknowledge you. Thank you for the super sticker for $9.99.
Thank you, Jan.
You're so cool. Very, very cool.
Thank you so
I
much.
really do appreciate that. You can, in our last few minutes here, if you want to toss us a couple of super stickers, super chat, you're welcome to. There he is. No,
hey,
what's his name again, please, Albert? I knew he wasn't going to know. When I asked, I thought I know Albert.
Oh no, Craig. Sorry, I wasn't on. His name's Craig.
All right, Craig. Look at Craig. Looks like a tough dude.
That's what you need in the winter snow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
got a cool, tough dude face on, and he's
He
got
does.
the Mark Thompson beanie on. The Mark Thompson Show beanie is a much rocked item during the winter months, and with winter still here, I suggest you pick one up. You can get it at Get Mark Merch. Do it like Craig did. Yeah, smash it
Smashed it with your iron rod.
like
And
Craig did.
I
at
like how he-
getmarkmerch.com.
I like how he went with the whole red and black theme, the red shirt, the black jacket, the red
Yeah.
and black hat.
Yeah.
He looks sharp, very sharp.
Yes, I love it.
There's never been anything like this.
It's true. I think it looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
Nice job on the beanie. You can also pick up what's behind me, which is the hoodie. That's there at getmarkmerch.com. The tote bag, which I love. I gave away my last tote bag. This is I suppose my real last tote bag, but I was using the tote bag and then I gave it to somebody who was like traveling through town.
Oh.
I mean, it was my friend's niece. I hope she appreciates that tote bag. There is the embroidered beanie.
Nice.
All of our stuff is beautifully embroidered with you in mind. It's all made especially, I might add, for you.
High quality.
And high quality indeed, reflecting the high quality of this program.
And
That's
it
the
comes
Mark
in two
Thompson.
colors, black and heather charcoal.
Oh yes,
Mm.
that's right. And we're past the Christmas season, but they still have the ornament up. There is the hoodie, though. Yeah,
The black has a little double make hair. It's kind of a little tough, you know?
Yeah.
It's
That's
edgy.
the hoodie, which is really nice, and it's
Yeah.
priced to move, which is amazing. And then the newest item, the newest items are the hoodie and then the fanny pack. So these are things that are just fun. It's a sling cross body bag, and inside, yes, there's a picture of me back when I was happy, and then the in behind it is a little. It's
Secret
like a
stash area.
stash area, yeah.
Is that for your
can-
weed?
Where are weed smokers
You
at?
couldn't put it there. It's a Woody Harrelson stash area back there behind the main. And I'm kidding, of course. I'm still very happy. My happiest time is on this show. It really is true. So, William Guy, thank you for $3 contribution, William.
That's so nice.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, William. Thank you to everyone who has contributed today and helped make things go. Al Anonymous, 420 for Albert's lunch. I get it, 420. Yeah.
Big
Yeah.
shout out.
All right, I understand.
Where are my weed smokers at?
We are crowdfunded, so we have to hit that. It's the part of the show that I like the least. I mean, having to do that, but I have to mention it. So appreciate you. Wes, $10 for Albert's smoke break.
Anybody but a weed?
All right. Yeah. And then Ben Ramirez. Thank you, Ben.
Big
Oh,
shout
thank
out.
you,
Big
Ben.
shout out for Ben. Come on.
Ben was I
Ramirez.
think, the first answer I saw of Atlanta Airport earlier when we were guessing the airport.
Oh,
So
is
I
that
think he was
right?
the winner.
Oh.
Yep.
How about it?
Well done, Ben.
Well done, Ben. Ben Ramirez for $19.99. Not going to cry, but when you all make contributions, It really does help keep the show going. So sadly, we have to ask you. And when you're watching in replay, which is really the way most of us take in the show, you can leave a contribution there. There's a little heart and a dollar sign. Shouldn't all hearts have dollar signs? I mean, isn't that really what it's about?
I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry.
Not going to cry, but I
loving money, baby, loving money.
And we're going to recognize more Patreon and give shout outs, more Patreon subscribers as well in the weeks to come. So what's that?
Can I also add that sponsorship opportunities are opening up. So there's a chance for you to have your business supported on the show as well. And it's a community effort. So we'd love to include you in that. You can email us at themarkthompsonshow@gmail.com.
themarkthompsonshow@gmail.com. We should have a graphic for this. Maybe we will have it for tomorrow. But there it is. That's how to support the show, themarkthompsonshow.com. Click contribute. But if you want to email the show, here it is. Email at themarkthompsonshow@gmail.com. And if you're interested in a sponsorship, we have a lot of connection to the Bay Area and to California, and we'd love to represent for your business, for your commercial enterprise, and we can do it here on the show. And you're also part of an effort that you enjoy being part of. So it would be great to have you in our family. So all of that, themarkthompsonshow@gmail.com. Now, Albert, you will tell me whether the
sounds good so far.
Okay. It has been a great visit, I feel. In fact, I think we should do it again tomorrow. We'll visit with David K. Johnston tomorrow, among others. Nikki's show is going down right now on the Nikki Maduro channel. You ought to check that out. Kim's going over that way also. I'm going to go handle my storm situation with the power company, hopefully. And I must say, as we look back on our job today, Albert, I think job well done. I want to thank Courtney for coming through.
Yeah.
Kim, I want to thank you for coordinating all the snow pictures. And I want to, most of all, thank our audience, because I love our audience, those who sent in pictures, those who participate in any way, and those who support us.
Charles Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
Have a great,
Out of time. Bye-bye.
dry rest of the day as best you can, and until tomorrow. Bye-bye.